Hey everyone, and welcome to the newest episode of the Life Formula Podcast. With me, I have an absolute legend, Shane Baldwin, and I'm super excited to introduce you to this amazing man and his amazing book, which just released, The Honest Lie: How to Navigate the Matrix. Shane, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. I'm excited to be on. Thanks for having me, and thanks for reaching out. I'm excited to share my story. I've kept my mouth shut for too long, so I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect place to start. So, Shane, as I was reading your book, you have one hell of a story, and I think that would be a great place to start this podcast. Is what is your story?
Well, I have an origin story too. So I was adopted as a baby. My mother was either 14 or 15 years old when she got pregnant with me. And she faced the tough decision as to whether or not she should keep the baby or put the baby up for adoption. And as she contemplated that decision, when I met her, let's see, in 2014, I had the opportunity to interview her. She said, I asked her, I said, so why did you, at the end of the day, decide to put me up for adoption? And she said, an angel came to her and told her that that's what she needed to do. And so I was adopted by an amazing family, and had an amazing mother and father who raised me, who taught me all of these self-help principles that you find in my book. Many of them were taught to me by my father, Dwight. And so I grew up and had a very fortunate childhood. Learned a lot of great things from my mom and my dad. And life came pretty easy to me. I mean, I got the girls. I was the athlete in school. Life was pretty easy for me. When I was 19 years old, I chose to go on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I got called to serve in South Africa, and I was in the Johannesburg area, and it was an amazing experience as a 19-year-old. 19-year-old, I learned Xhosa, Zulu, Sotho, and Tswana while I was out there, and I love the people of Africa, and they were so kind to me, and I learned a ton at that age. When I came home from that experience, I bought some franchises, invested in a business called CleanFlix. Um, that is a company back in the early 2000s that would take the rated R movies and take out the swearing, sex, and nudity. And Mormons aren't supposed to watch rated R movies, so I rented them to all the Mormons in the land. That was my business when I came home from my Mormon mission. I sold that business in 2004. I took a job, got offered a job with Merrill Lynch. So I actually left school early to take this job at Merrill Lynch with the idea that I would finish school while working at Merrill Lynch. And I was fortunate I was able to work with my dad. And my whole job at Merrill Lynch was just to raise money, to convince people to move their money from wherever they did have it over to Merrill Lynch. So I played a ton of golf, went to tons of sporting events, did a lot of what we call schmoozing and networking. And that was a really cool experience for me because I was able to be around people that were highly successful, had a ton of experience, and I was able to learn from them. And I was able to help grow my father's business significantly during that time. But in 2007, I decided that I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be my own man. I wanted to start my own business. So I left Merrill Lynch and I started a company called Silverleaf. And then the market crashed. And I found myself with my original idea, which was real estate development. No, it wasn't going to work. So I had to pivot. I had to find another opportunity. I found that opportunity in 2008 when banks started to fail. I read about a bank that had failed, and I thought, I wonder what happens with those loans when that bank fails. So I called the FDIC. I said, hey, you just took over this bank. This is the third bank to have failed. If I had a $20,000 car loan with that bank, like, what happens to it? She's like, oh, we package up those loans and we sell them. I said, you sell the loans to who? She said, private investors. I'm like, for how much do you sell those loans? She said, oh, car loan debt, 10 cents on the dollar. I said, hold on. So you're telling me if I had a $20,000 car loan, somebody could buy that for $2,000? And I was like, do I still owe the 20? They're like, yeah, you still owe the 20 grand. I'm like, you do that with real estate? And the lady on the other line said, yeah, we do a lot of real estate like that. So I got into the note buying business. I bought debt secured by real estate, first position debt that oftentimes was in default. And I ended up over the course of from 2008 to 2012 buying hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of this bad debt secured by real estate. I was living a pretty high life, man. I had, you know, jets and fast cars and fancy houses and owned golf courses, private golf courses. Um, and my ego really inflated. And so by 2012, I had done hundreds of transactions, and there was a few that I wasn't totally upfront, I didn't totally disclose certain things about some deals, and we were losing money on some deals. And some guys were mad at me, and the FBI decided to investigate me. So through that investigation, they offered me a deal to go to like a federal camp, take my golf clubs, super easy time. And I turned it down. They held a grand jury. And after the grand jury, they decided not to indict me. And for me, I was 32 years old at the time. That was a huge wake up call. I had 3 kids, a wife, and I'm like, man, I almost went to prison. So I divested myself from all of my business affairs and started totally investing in my personal development, spirituality, with the quest of understanding why I'm on this earth. I was reading a pretty well known book. It's called the Book of Revelations. And there was this phrase that literally like jumped off the page at me. I think it's Revelations chapter 3, verse 12. And the phrase is to go no more out. It's like to he who overcomes, he will go no more out. Something like that. And I'm like, man, well, whatever that means, I don't want to go out anymore. And my biggest fear was I would return home after this experience. I'd go to my dad or father or source or whatever you want to call it. And he'd be like, son, how do you think you did? And I'd be like, well, I think I did pretty good. I did this. I started this business, raised a family. And he's like, yeah, that's all good. But that's not why I sent you there. Let me show you what I sent you to do. And he shows me, and I totally missed it. And I have to go out again. So I'm like, okay, this time I'm going to figure out why I'm on this earth. I'm going to figure out who I am. I'm going to figure out what my purpose is. And I'm going to like, if the Bible is true and it says, ask and ye shall receive, I'm going to start asking. I'm going to start asking because I want to know my purpose. I want to know why I have certain gifts. Why can I make money? Why can I convince people to do things? Why can I talk well? Why do I look like I wanted to know all of these things? I wanted an answer. I mean, you think about this experience we're in. We literally came here and we have no memory. I don't know about you, but if somebody offered me $10 million today in exchange for my memories, I'd be like, no, I'd rather keep my memories. But we literally chose to leave wherever we came from to come here, and we totally forgot everything. And so I was on this quest to remember. I was on this quest to make sure that I fulfilled my purpose. And in starting doing that, my real focus was I'm going to do the best job a human could possibly do. And I am far from perfect. But I'm just going to try and live a life that would be, similar to the way you say Jesus Christ lived his life, how he looked at people, try to eliminate judgment, try to treat everybody with love, like those kinds of things. Really tune in to my thoughts and my feelings and promptings and follow those. So that's what I did for a couple of years. And I spent 5-6 hours a day just studying, reading, pondering, thinking. I'm not a great still meditator. In fact, if you try and have me sit down, be still, and just think, I'll lose my ever loving mind. So I do what's called a moving meditation where I'll walk, I'll hike, I'll run, I'll do something, I'll be in the car, but I move. And as I move, I'm able to process and think. So I did a lot of that. In 2014, I made a significant amount of money on a deal. I'd never asked God what I should do with my money. I went to the mountains, I prayed, I said, what do you want me to do with this money? And it was significant. He said, I want you to give it away to random people. So I was like, okay. And it was like I heard a voice. So I want you to give it away to random people. I started in Utah, called one of my buddies who owns a door-to-door company. I asked him, like, hey, where do you sell? I know you sell alarms to, you know, people that are poor. Um, where's the best spot? And he said, hey, I have teams in Mississippi. So I looked at Mississippi, and he had a team in a place called Natchez, Mississippi. So I ended up kind of randomly in Natchez, Mississippi, knocking on people's doors, finding people in need, and helping them out with the money that I had been blessed with. And it literally changed my life. I never have ever found so much joy, peace, and happiness in money as I did giving it away to those who are struggling and those who are in need. And so I did that. They gave me a nickname out there in Natchez, Mississippi. They call me Sugar Shane. After that experience, I returned home. I went to the same mountains, prayed, said, God, I gave the money away. And he gave me at least a little bit of what my purpose was at that moment in time. When he told me what and you'll have to kind of dig into my book and read through the lines to understand, the trajectory I'm on and where I'm going and what I'm trying to do. But when I was told to do this, I was told to do something in 14 years, in 2028. And I felt completely inadequate for the first time in my life. I felt like there's no way I could do what is being asked of me. I don't have the knowledge. I don't have the tools. I don't have like all the things I'm like, I don't have. And so I went to God and I said, you're going to have to teach me. And because I don't know. And I said, listen, if I got to go live in a tent for you to teach me, I will go live in a tent. Now, Shaun, you got to be careful. When you start telling God you're willing to go live in a tent, he'll be like, oh, okay, that's a good idea. Because a few months after I told him I was willing to live in a tent, I got arrested by the state of Utah. And I found myself in an 80-foot cell. It took me a while, but I realized that was at the actual tent God wanted me to live in. But during that process, I got depressed. I had anxiety. My wife of 13 years had decided that it was time to end that relationship, and she filed for divorce. And honestly, I wanted to kill myself. So I started asking all the other inmates, like, hey, how do you kill yourself? They're like, well, you can hang yourself. You got to kneel down and tie it to the bed. I'm like, man, I'll stand up. And so that didn't work. And then I was like, okay, what are the other options? They're like, well, you can go up the stairs and jump off the tier, land on your head, and that might kill you. I'm like, I'll end up being a quadriplegic, and I don't want that life. So of all the ways that they had given me, none of them were 100%. So I came up with my own plan, and that was to not eat, not drink for as long as I could possibly go. And I went a while. And during the time that I was, fasting, I wrote this book. And so I tell people this all the time. I mean, the book literally saved my life. I had, like you had mentioned earlier, studied all the self help books, all Napoleon Hill, all Tony Robbins, all Dale Carnegie, all of the guys. I'd read their books. And I sat down and just started writing from the memories that I had from reading those books. And in about a 2 to 3 week time period, the majority of the manuscript of The Honest Lie was written. And by the end of it, and I don't know how far you've gotten into my book, as I was in the midst of writing the book, I had a dream. And in this dream, it was kind of like a Scrooge dream where I was, I could go back in time. So in that dream, I was offered 3 opportunities where I could travel back in time and make a significant different life decision. And then I was shown what the outcome would be for my life. The first one was no good, and you can read that story in my book. The second one was also, good for me, but not good for my children. By the time I got to my third option, I said, what does it look like if I just stay right here? And my guide said, I'm glad that you asked in this dream. And he said, you're going to be here for 5 years. At this point, I hadn't been sentenced yet. I hadn't accepted a deal. I was fighting my case. He said, you're going to be here for 5 years. I was shown everything that I needed to do during those 5 years. I was shown all of the people that I would help during those 5 years. And one of the primary things that I help people with is developing greater self confidence in themselves and causing them to believe in themselves again while in jail/prison. I was shown that I would get out in 5 years. I would find the love of my life. Um, I would reconnect with my children, and each one of my children's lives turned out amazing. And then finally, at that moment in time, I was shown exactly who I am and exactly what I was to do and exactly how I was to do it in 2028 and the things that would follow. And so I woke up from that dream believing 100% that it was from the higher power. And I called my attorney and I said, I need to take a plea deal. And he said, Shane, I think you can beat this. There's a reason why the FBI uh, did not indict you. I mean, I think you can beat it. And I said, no, I did the wrong thing. Period. The end. I'd rather pay the karmic debt now than later. So um, we agreed to a plea deal, and then the judge sentenced me to a 4 to 30, minimum of 4, maximum of 30 years. In Utah, they have what's called indeterminate sentencing, which means it's totally up to a board of pardons to decide how long I would be incarcerated for, anywhere from 4 years all the way up to 30 years. When I saw the Board of Pardons the first time, they gave me what's called a rehearing where I would see them again. And I saw them about 18 months into my sentence. And they gave me a rehearing for 36 months, exactly 5 years to the date. I would see them again. And it was at that moment in time that I knew the dream was real. Everything that had happened at this point was real. And I did everything I could during those 5 years to read every book that I could get my hands on. In fact, I became the librarian in prison. So I would have access to books. I got a degree in psychology while I was in prison. I studied those who suffer with addiction extensively and understand addiction at a whole new level. I sat with heads of gangs to understand the gang life and what they deal with and what they go through, and made some lifelong friends while I was there in prison. When I saw them 5 years later, just like my dream, I got released. When I got out, I had this book, The Honest Lie. I had it, and I was so excited to release my book and get going. And I had offers from huge publishers, major publishers that would have gotten me into places like Barnes and Noble and all over the place and done huge promotions. But one of the things that in all of the agreements they wanted is they wanted some creative control. They wanted to control some of the content. And there was some of the content that they read in there that they're like, you have to eliminate it. One of that was mastering creative energy. They're like, you got to take that out. It doesn't fit. It's not right. I don't know if you've gotten to that point in the book. It's later on in the book, but they wanted me to eliminate that entire chapter. And in my mind, that was one of the great revelations that I received at that time is how to, it's on sex. It's mastering our creative energy. And so I went to God and I said, hey, should I take this deal? And the answer was no. In fact, keep your mouth shut. Wait till 2023 and I'll tell you what to do. So that's exactly what I did. I started a business, reconnected with my kids. And 2 weeks after getting out of prison, crazy enough, I found the love of my life. First girl I went on a date with, using the concepts in my book, I used them to find my wife, my eternal companion. Her name's Angie. And it was as though the universe had prepared her for me. She's my same age. I didn't have to go really young. Shaun, I don't have baggage, man. I got luggage. And so when I was looking for a companion, I'm like, hey, I got 4 kids. I can't have somebody that has kids as well. That's just too much, which is a pretty hypocritical thing for a guy who has 4 kids and just got out of prison to be expecting. And sure enough, she didn't have kids. In fact, she couldn't have kids, and that's why her first husband divorced her because they couldn't have kids. But she has been amazing, and I knew after, the first time that we hung out that we were meant to be together. And then it was my job, living at my parents' house in my parents' basement, just out of prison, to try to convince this gorgeous girl with an MBA to be with me. And so somehow, through some miracle, it happened. And I think there will be a happily ever after. But it's 2023 now. I've finally released my book. I'm getting lots of positive response. I'm excited because the book is kind of a culmination of all the, self-help books that I've read, coupled with my own experience. And one of the things that's really interesting that we fail to understand is that if you're on the path of self-help and you want to grow, you should prepare yourself for failure. You should prepare yourself that you're going to go through some stuff along the path. Just because you're now studying all of the self-help stuff doesn't mean life gets easier. In fact, it's just the opposite. It will get harder. It's kind of like going to the gym. If you haven't been going to the gym and you think you're just going to go show up there and you're going to get a six pack and be all ripped, that's not how it works. It takes time, it takes effort. You're sore, you're tired, you don't want to do it, but eventually the payoffs come. And that's the same is true with self-help. The more you do it, the more you study it, the more you stick with it, eventually the payoff comes. So anyway, sorry, that's a lot to throw up on you, Shaun, but that's my story, my man.
That is truly an amazing story, and you've made it. I mean, you've experienced the highs, you have experienced the lows, and now I'm assuming you're back up towards the highs or at the highs or even higher than where you were before. And such a beautiful story. I mean, life is really
Thanks,
just
man.
a beautiful journey. And thank you so much for sharing and writing this book. And I love books so much. It's my whole entire life. It's like my whole identity. I read at least 2 books every week and stuff. And your book is so
Keep doing that, dude. I went out last night to a very popular street here in Savannah to sell 3 copies of my books just to random people. And I met one person. Now, I sold all 3 of them, but I only met one person that said, yes, I read self help books. And I talked to over 100. So you're an anomaly.
thank you so much. And luckily, I came across this path when I was 19, 4 years ago, back in 2019. Now I'm 23, and these books single handedly changed my life more than anything or anyone ever did. It's truly amazing, and I just gotta say that your book is so good. It actually made me mad because I'm someone who likes highlighting lines, one-liners, paragraphs, and writing in it. Then I found myself highlighting the whole entire page, every single page, for like 60 pages straight. I'm like, this book is so good. I can't even write in it anymore. I can't even write my little notes on the side because you have it all right there. And that's one of those books that I don't really do that pretty often. Like honestly, I can say with full transparency, just even the first 50 pages of your book is better than 90% of the 250 to 300 page books that I've read. I've read probably close anywhere between 200 and 400 books, some of those multiple times. And where I'm at in life right now is that I'm trying to read as many books as I can, probably for like the next 10 years or so. Then I want to push those books to the side and only keep the books and reread the ones that mean a lot to me and help me out the most. And I can confidently say that The Honest Lie, your book, is going to be one of those books where I have to reread each and every single year. It's really that good. And I just want to say again, thank you so much for writing this book. And
Well, I got to tell you something, Shaun. And I got to give credit where credit's due. Um, when I was writing the book, I would get really hot, like physically, and I would take off my shirt, and I was in a cell with another guy, and the other guy would be 10 feet away from me, and he's like, "Dude, are you okay?" He could feel heat coming off of me. And so the honest truth is, man, I was just the instrument that was used to write this. I feel as though Napoleon Hill somehow, through some way, was moving through me. I'm a direct descendant of Mark Twain or Samuel Clemens. I feel like I was pulling in from him. And so I know I had a lot of help because there's no way I could personally recreate this myself. And then I found this amazing editor when I was in prison, of all places. In 2017, I was in a bunk next to a guy named Dan. And Dan started a little company called Ancestry.com. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
No, I
I
don't
was
think
in
I've ever
prison
heard of
with
it.
this. Okay,
Wow.
it's a big company.
I know it is.
And
I was just teasing you.
I was, oh, yeah, okay.
Hmm.
So I had read something that his daughter had written, a blog, and it kind of matched my same tone and style. And I said, hey, I've got this book. And he had talked to her and arranged for her to come and visit me. And after one visit, I'm like, hey, I think you might be the one that can help me edit it. Because I'd been carrying around like a stack of papers this thick because I didn't want to lose this thing. So I'm carrying this thing with me everywhere I go in prison. And I trusted her, gave it to her, and she and I went through the editing process, and so she has been, instrumental as well. And so I'm really, dude, you almost made me cry. I'm really humbled that you feel that way about the book. I'm prayerful that other people like you will find the book, take the time to read the book, because, like I said, even for me, this book's saved my life.
And I'm not just saying it just to be nice. Like I truly, authentically mean it, because in this book, it's so beautifully laid out from the action steps that you have, the journal pages that you have in here. It's not really common to see those in these type of books. And you got the bold sentences to really pop out at you, and you got a lot of really great stuff, steps, tools on how to really take this book and implement it into your life. And it's really well done. Shout out to you and shout out to the editor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I probably will for surely tell as many people as I can about this book, because I truly believe in it. And thank you again for writing it. And I just want to
You
say
bet.
and
And Sean,
ask you.
Sean, just so
Okay,
you know, oh, go ahead.
I got a big question. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, I just want you to know that um, because we've connected, I don't believe in coincidences. And man, I'm here to mentor you, to help you. I'm a direct line for you. You can text me, call me anytime, and I'm happy to be there for you as you continue your journey on this planet we call Earth.
Yeah, and I appreciate you for saying that. I will probably take you up on that one day, just like how you said you could live in a tent one day. So I'm probably going to get you back one day with some help or some advice and
Okay.
or some mentorship. So be ready for that one. And so yeah, I just want to ask you, who is or what are the people that your book is written for? Who is the target audience for your book?
Honestly, I think the target audience is your generation. The 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 year old that's trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be doing here? How do I escape the matrix? How do I get out? Like, it's challenging for you guys. When I was your age, I didn't have all the distractions that you guys face today. I didn't have all the comparisons that you guys face today. I didn't have all the options that you guys face today. And so what can happen, and I have a in my book I talk about decisions direct your destiny. And one of the challenges that young people have today is they have so many options. And with so many options, it becomes hard to make a decision. And if you don't make a decision, then you become indecisive. And when you become indecisive, then all of a sudden you start procrastinating and you become confused, and then you get paralysis, and then you take no action, right? So I think the book is designed. And yesterday I have film guys here because we're shooting a TV show right now here in Savannah. And I said, if people would say, okay, I'm going to look at how much time I spent on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I know it's called TikTok, but I like to call it TikTok. On TikTok, and I looked at it, and apparently there's an app that can tell you that. And you said, okay, I'm not going to just eliminate social media because I know that isn't, something that, and there is some great things on social media. I learn a ton and get a ton of great information because because I've gotten on the right algorithm, right? So you got to get on the right algorithm. But if we said, okay, cut that in half. Let's say it was an hour. Let's say it's 2 hours you spend on there. And let's cut that in half. So let's say you spent 2 hours the day before and you say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour there, but the other hour I'm going to spend reading a book, a physical book, not listening to a book. Like literally, I'm going to grab a book and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to read the pages. It would be life changing, game changing. And so my book is hopefully designed to get people off of the social media platforms, which is I would say you're a consumer there, and start consuming so you can start creating. And that's why I have the action steps in that, because now you're becoming a creator. And I think that the danger zone for people right now is most people are consumers, and so they're not getting anywhere because they're just consuming, and they need to start creating. And you need steps in order to understand, well, how do I create? How do I create something for myself? So I would say that is the audience I want to speak to. I've logged, I don't know, about 2,000 hours on Jordan Peterson, and about 1,500 hours on Andrew Tate, and a bunch of hours on a guy named Brad Lee and Ed Milet. And these are the guys, and they're also speaking to a similar audience. And there's a reason why. I think the young men can have the young men of today can have the most powerful impact on the earth's history as a total if we can get them to focus. They're the smartest beings that have ever been sent to this planet. They know technology. I was Just because I'm 40, I don't understand technology like a 20-year-old does. But I should, because I've actually had access to it in my, adult life way longer than you, but you understand it better than me. And I think there's something ingrained in your DNA from where you came from, that you're just more advanced. And Team Negative, as I call it in my book, is trying to make sure that you don't recapture the superpower that is inside of you, that is laying dormant. And you've forgotten the superpowers you have, because they are greater than the superpowers I have. So I'm hoping that I can awaken that, helping the young men primarily, and anybody really, but the young men is the audience I want to really take hold of my book, take the time, read it, study it, write in it, and learn how to not escape the matrix. We live in the matrix. So the only way to escape the matrix is to kill yourself. And I'm not saying do that. You got to learn how to navigate the matrix. And when you look at the Matrix, the movie, Neo was in and out of it, right? He was moving and navigating through it and working through it. And so it's not about escaping it. It's about understanding how to navigate it.
Yeah, the Matrix is definitely, 20 plus years after the movie came out, it's now been a more popular coined term thanks to the likes of people like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, Bradley, people who I admire and I study as well. Because they talk a lot about the Matrix. I probably have pretty similar hours put into with Andrew Tate and stuff like that, and just understanding this whole entire the government, how they try to put you down and put you into blocks and try to keep you in boxed in. And so what exactly is the Matrix?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, right? I would say that the Matrix would tell you a, a, a certain amount of rules that you should be living by, like go to school, get a degree, go get a job paying 60,000 a year, climb the corporate ladder, retire at 65. Like, to me, that's the Matrix. So if you want to keep just following that and be as they refer to it, an NPC, go do that. But if you want to really do something, have an impact, remember why you're here, you don't have to follow that matrix. You can do something else. And the truth is, if you believe in a higher power and you believe that you are the offspring of that higher power, then the truth is that higher power's divinity and DNA rests in every single one of us. And we just need to activate it. and we activate it by following many of these self-help principles that these gurus talk about. Otherwise, if you don't, as in Napoleon Hill's book Outwitting the Devil, you become a drifter. You have no purpose. And so those that are in the matrix, if you said, okay, well, what's your purpose? What's your plan? They wouldn't have purpose or plan. They would just be drifting through life, showing up, punching a clock. And it's cool when I see a guy like you that's 23 years old and you're like, yeah, I started discovering self help at 19. That's when you started breaking out of the matrix. That's when you started asking questions. There's this phrase that goes like this. Let's see if you can finish it. Finish this phrase for me. Curiosity killed the
Cat.
Ah, cat. There you go. No, it didn't. It created the lion, right? So the Matrix would try to teach you: don't be curious, don't ask questions, just do what everybody else does, and that's the Matrix. Remember that curiosity created the lion. So you should ask questions. You should be searching. You should be having internal dialogue constantly about who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here on this earth? What's my purpose? You should be doing that thing, and that's how you navigate the matrix and make sure that you don't get stuck just following the matrix. And those that follow the matrix will probably go out, just like the scripture says, and be like, "Oh well, you didn't do what I sent you down there to do." So my book hopefully inspires people to start asking those kind of questions like, what's my purpose? Who am I? Where'd I come from? Am I doing everything that I need to do in this life?
What are some of those questions where, if someone listening today or in the future, whoever's listening to this episode or watching it, what are some of those questions people can ask themselves in order to change their lives now or in the short near future?
Yeah, the question that I constantly was asking myself is number 1, where did I come from? Number 2, why am I here? And number 3, where am I going after I leave here? And so, where did I come from means how do I tap back in? So we're made up of, and in my book I talk about this. You have your higher self, and you have the person that you look in the mirror. And the person that looks in the mirror, I say this all the time, is not the sharpest tool in the shed. Um, we think it is, but it's not. Our higher self, our other self, actually knows all of the truth, actually remembers everything, is actually one of the most intelligent beings on the planet. Now, you've heard of this phrase: a house divided against itself shall not stand. The house is this physical body. We have the natural tendencies, and then we have the higher self or the spiritual tendencies. And the goal is to make those come together and be one. And it's a real process, it's a real challenge. And what that means is you have to focus on all aspects of your life. That means keeping your physical body in good condition, eating the right things, feeding your mind the right things, making sure, I mean, simple things like I don't allow a piece of music to enter into my ears that I haven't read the lyrics of to make sure it matches my morals and values. Those are the things I'm really particular about what I see and what I hear, what I let in. And it's hard, man. It's hard because when you get on that social media, it'll feed you stuff and you're like, oh crap, you got to make sure. I tell people this all the time: make sure you're on the right algorithm. What I would tell people today is go to your For You page, start swiping, scrolling, and ask yourself, am I on the right algorithm? And if the answer is no, then you got to start liking the things that you know are actually good for you to get on the right algorithm.
Yeah, that's how I feel when people say that, oh, social media sucks, or social media is so negative. And I just look at them and I'm like, it's only because you follow those certain accounts, which algorithms are pushed to your page. It's like only people I follow is motivational pages, people who are open minded, spirituality pages, science pages, and I have the best experience all day long on social media, on
There you
TikTok,
have it.
on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm just like, I really enjoy my time on social media, and people don't realize that they have the power to choose what they see and what they get to take in.
That's
And
money. exactly the case.
Exactly. It's exactly. And I also want to touch on the title of your book. Let's say someone comes across your book on Amazon or in the bookstore and they see The Honest Lie. And they would think to themselves, what is the honest lie? So I would like to ask you, what is the honest lie and what are some honest lies that you have experienced or told in your life?
Yeah, perfect. I think when I coined the term the honest lie, it means something that isn't true about you today, but you want to be true about you in the future. So if I don't currently own and maintain a healthy physical body, and I people oftentimes tell themselves this, they say, "Man, I am so fat. Man, I am out of shape." They I hear it all the time. Those are horrible things to be telling yourself if you want something different. So let's say that you don't have a healthy physical body. You would say, I own and maintain a healthy physical body. I am in shape. You would say those things so that when you say them, because our words have power, it causes your actions when you are like, oh, I really want to, eat that burger from McDonald's, or I want to make this bad choice. It's like, no, 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 no. I told myself I eat healthy. I only allow foods to enter my body that are good for me, right? When we say those things, those would be considered honest lies until they end up becoming honest truths. And the truth is, all of, let's say I want to be a millionaire and you're not. In order to become a millionaire, you have to believe you already are one. So you have to say, boom, I am a millionaire. You have to think like a millionaire. You got to walk like a millionaire. You got to talk like a millionaire. You got to act like you're $1 million. And if you'll do that, you'll become a millionaire. But most people will say, oh, I'll never be a millionaire. Oh, I'll never make that kind of money. So they never do because they never believe it. But if you look at all the people who have had major success, they were telling themselves that they were successful long before they were actually successful on paper. So those would be considered honest lies. And some of the honest lies are honest truths. I mean, I say this all the time. I say today is great because I choose to make it great. I am kind, generous, and thoughtful. I expect to win, and I do. I live my dreams. So those are some of the things, the affirmations, the incantations, and the honest lies that I tell myself every single day. I like to do. I like to say them when I'm moving. So I do my honest lies when I'm either driving in my car or I'm on a treadmill and I'm saying them to me as I'm moving. So one of my greatest things that I've been saying to myself is, especially as I'm doing some really hard things, is to this end was I born, for this cause came I into the world. And I'm saying that statement over and over and over to remind me of my purpose on this earth.
That kind of reminds me of a lesson that I have learned from Joe Dispenza. I'm not too sure if you are familiar with him or his works,
Yes,
but
he's amazing, by the way. I
and he
watched
has this
something on
framework.
him literally a couple hours ago.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Share your experience. What'd you
No,
learn from him?
no, no, no. I just somebody sent me from something from him just a few hours ago, just a short clip. So I think he's incredible. I'm excited one day to meet him and pick his brain and hopefully learn from him. I'm glad that you're learning from him because I am as well.
Yeah, he has this framework, which I'm gonna try to say it correctly because sometimes it kind of confuses me. But he has this framework of kind of what's pretty similar to the honest lie. He says it's kind of like think, do, be, in order of like you think about this, then you do this, and you become this person. But he says that's
Mm-hmm.
backwards, and that's what ties into the honest lie is that you have to become this person first, then do these things, then you think about it. So people have those
You got
formulas or the framework completely backwards, and I just tied those two pieces together, which helps me conceptualize the honest lie, and that's some really powerful stuff.
it's perfect because it's true that people think, oh, well, when I become a millionaire, then I'll do this. Well, no, just go do that like a millionaire does it, and you'll become a millionaire. So you got to start taking the action that a millionaire would take, and when you start taking that kind of action, you then become a millionaire.
Speaking of millionaire, in your book you mentioned that you tried to become a millionaire in 60 days, and you did it not once but twice. And correct me if I'm wrong, but are you trying it again for the third time? currently?
I'm in I'm in the middle of it right now, and I'm halfway home. I had a and it didn't even come from anything that I planned on out here. So my wife, technically, she owns everything. Everything's in her name, um, and we had an interest in a business. And while I was out here filming this TV show, my partners called me and they said, "Hey, we want to buy out your interest." Um, and boom, there you had it. That business is now gone. I've been bought out. I signed that deal last Friday, and it gets me about halfway there. So I got to figure out how to make another $500,000. I'm hoping who knows how it's going to come. It may come because I got Sean Jeter out promoting my book, and a bunch of people jump on board and buy the honest lie over the next 30 days. I'm not sure, but I'm working on some real estate stuff right now, and maybe it comes through that. And we'll see how it goes. I've been hit up by people that have been following my journey, and they're interested in creating a TV series, a little different than what I've created, but having me be the host and have some ownership in their concept for a show, and so that could pay huge dividends as well. The key is you just take massive action. You got an idea, which is what I had. I'm getting off parole, and I'm like, cool. I'm going to hire a film crew. Here's the concept. I'm going to go to Savannah. I'm going to do this for 60 days. I'm going to try a variety of different things, which includes knocking on doors, going door to door, which included last night me taking my book out and just talking to random people on the street trying to sell 3 copies of my book. And, it's just stretching my own limits and getting outside of my own comfort zone, and I'm applying many of the principles in my book in what I'm doing out here, and so people are going to be able to watch the footage back and actually see me put these concepts and these precepts into practice.
What is the truth and how important is money in life? Now, there's a common phrase which everyone is told about how money is the root of all evil. Then you have these millionaires who make $1 million and they do all these things. Then they say, oh, money isn't everything. Then you got the whole contrast version of it. How important really is money in order to live life the way that
Yeah.
you really want to?
So let's be clear: money is not the root of all evil. The love of money um, is the evil side of it. So when you love money more than anything else, I think that can become problematic. And I've been down that path before, because what it does is it disallows for empathy to enter your life, and money just becomes everything. And if you don't have empathy, you have missed the boat on this life. So developing empathy to me is worth more than having $100 million in your bank account. If you have no dollars in your bank account, but you have empathy, which is love for others, pure love for others, then you have obtained the world. So, but money's important, and it depends on what you're trying to do, right? Um, some of your goal ought to be, hey, I want to help change people's lives with that money. Some of that should be, I want to drive nice cars. I want to have a nice house. I want to be comfortable. I don't want to be stressed about money. You look at where crime happens. Well, guess what? It happens in places that are impoverished, and there isn't any money there. So it's not that money is the root of all evil. In fact, I would say the opposite. I would say it's the lack of money that might actually be the root of evil, because where most evil takes place, or a lot of it, anyways, is where there is a lack of money. Now, there are these situations where you have people who have an overabundance of money, and maybe they're doing things that they shouldn't do as well. So you've got to be very, very careful in the process, in your quest to obtain money, that you also maintain empathy and love for others, and you look to do good with that money. If you see somebody in need, you should be willing to give to them and help them, regardless of, like, there's some people that's like, well, I'm not going to give $5 to this person because they're just going to go buy meth, or they're just going to go buy alcohol. Um, I also think that like, give them $5. Now, if you're going to invest time and effort into helping somebody, then you want to invest time and effort and money into people that are really trying to change themselves. But helping somebody that's homeless on the street, I don't care what they do with it. We should look to give to everybody. And if we don't have the means to give, we should at least have the desire to give. So I think money is an interesting thing. You can't take any of it with you when you leave this life. But if you do good with that money, you get to take all that with you. And in my mind, there are two kinds of money. There's the kind of money that we exchange, and then there's the kind of money that I get when somebody reads something in my book and they post about it on Instagram and how it's impacted their life. And I'm like, money. That's the kind of bank account I'm after. That's the kind of money I really, really want. Now, in order for me to get more of this kind of money, it's probably going to take more of this kind of money as well. And for me, I haven't always been a great steward of that money. And so, to whom much is uh, given, there's also a great responsibility associated with that. And so I think you have to also recognize and commit to, hey, I'm going to be a good steward with the money that's given to me. And if you'll do that, man, money can be an amazing tool.
The title of my podcast is Life Formula Podcast, and I'm kind of on this journey to create, ideally, for me or to help other people create their life formula to help them live their own perceived best life possible. And if you could create your perfect life formula, this plus this times this, subtract this equals this, the perfect life, what would your perfect life formula be? What actually matters in life?
Boy, that's a loaded question. I would say it starts with finding a well matched partner, whatever that means to you. I think in this book called Genesis, it says it's not good for man to be alone. And I think there is um, great benefits that come from finding a well matched partner that complements you, that helps you, and you help them, and you learn to work together. Um, that is an important component. Having posterity and children is important to that life formula. It gives life more meaning, it makes life more rich. I would say that recognizing that there is a higher power, something greater than you, um, that is working to help you, and tuning into that higher power, that source, is also important in that life formula. So if you can create those things and have those as your foundation in your life formula, then it becomes like, okay, I think Will Smith said this. He said, if you're not changing somebody's life every day, or at least attempting to change somebody's life every day in a positive way, big or small, you're wasting your time. And so part of the life formula should be every interaction that I have with every single human being is going to be, hopefully, a positive one. If that means I just hold the door open for somebody, if that means all I do is say, have a good day, if that means God bless the rest of your day, and you just say that to people, if that means while you're sitting at a stoplight, you roll your window down and you just wave to the person in the car next to you and say, have a blessed day, that's an important component to having a successful life formula. Now, when you talk about your personal development, routine is critical. Following a routine is absolutely paramount. Making sure that you have a routine, you stick to that routine, you follow that routine is very important. And then once you have that routine built in, it's taking consistent and persistent action towards whatever goals you have in mind. And it's reevaluating those goals, it's looking at those goals, it's deciding if the goals that I currently have are still the goals that I have. And it's okay if we want to say, hey, I'm going to shift course here a little bit. I learned something over here, so this is now no longer important to me. I'll give you an example. I used to have this goal that I wanted to be one of the Forbes 400 richest men in America. Well, that's not a goal anymore. I don't really care about that anymore. All I care about is inspiring people to understand the divinity inside of each of them and helping them remember their purpose as to why they're here. So that's more my mission than anything else. I had a unique experience in prison, and part of the life formula has to include this. This guy came out of nowhere, started walking with me, and he said, "Shane, I know who you are, and I'm here to give you a message." I'm like, "Okay." He said, "Here's the message. You're on the right path. It's all about self confidence." And we walked one more lap, and I never saw this person again. And so, as your formula, you have to believe in yourself. You have to invest the time of creating self confidence in yourself. You have to believe that greatness, like your shirt says, is inside of you. And you are an inheritor of that greatness because that greatness was passed down to you, and that greatness exists inside of all of us. It is in our DNA, and all we have to do is activate it and wake up. And we do that through, doing positive things every single day. That doesn't mean we're going to be perfect, and it doesn't mean that we might do something negative or say something stupid or do something stupid or make a mistake. The key is just in the life formula, recognizing, oh, I'm off path here. I've made a mistake over here. I've got to, change. And we do that. We make those changes, and then we take action. And then we don't beat ourselves up over the stuff that we may or may not have done in the past. We just move on.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to look back on this episode and review all that because those are some very important things, such as like the self confidence. And quickly, if you or take as long as you want. How does someone create true self confidence within themselves? Because in like today's society now, even like people like my generation, the men 20 to 25, you got the whole social media comparison game. Um, the dynamic of male female sexual nature is changing rapidly at a rapid rate because of social media, and that causes a lot of confidence issues in young men. How what are some strategies that you use to create confidence in yourself?
It's a great question, and this may shock some. Own your experience. Own all of it. Let's say that a young man has a problem with pornography, but he doesn't ever tell anybody, I got a problem with pornography. But he recognizes, I got a problem. The quickest way to destroy a person's confidence is pornography. Pornography will destroy your confidence. So, owning your experience means that you say, man, I recognize, number one, that I have a problem here. Now, these are the things I'm going to do to fix that problem. And as I talk to other people, I'm going to let them know, man, I used to have a problem with pornography. And these are the things that I did to fix that. And it's created greater self confidence in me. That's just one example, but I think we have to own our experience. We can't be ashamed of where we've been or what we've done or the parents we have or the home we were raised in or the grades we get in school. We can no longer try to hide from it, and we should just own it. And the more we own our experience, I say this in my book, transparency is a superpower. And the more you just own it, the more confidence you get from it. And it's a really powerful thing. And I learned that from a lot of people that suffer from addiction. Um, One of the keys is they commit to saying, okay, I recognize that I have a problem with this and I'm open about it and I talk about it and it's okay. And these are the things that I'm doing now to make sure that I don't backslide or fall back into it. So I think it starts by just owning your experience, just own who you are, and then start. There's this saying, love thy neighbor as thyself. And we only hear the neighbor part. So we think that, oh, it's like, oh, I got to love my neighbor, love my neighbor, love my neighbor. No, the truth is you got to love yourself. And you got to start looking at yourself and saying, you know what? You know what I love about me? Boom, I love this about me. And that's not being arrogant or egotistical. That's just saying, hey, I really love this about me. And we need to list those things out and focus on what we do love about ourselves, and focus on those things. What's interesting is oftentimes our weaknesses can become our strengths when we just own those weaknesses. When we say, hey, yeah, this was a weakness of mine. And then it can become a superpower because now you're recognizing it and not hiding from it.
That's amazing. And confidence really is um, a major component in all of life, from loving yourself and loving others. Confidence really is a key component of a good life formula. And Shane Baldwin, where can people find you and help support you on your journey of this life?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Shane Baldwin underscore. I don't even know what my Facebook is. Just type in Shane Baldwin. I'm sure you can find it. If you type in Shane Baldwin and just search Shane Baldwin on YouTube, you can find my YouTube channel. I've released, I don't know, 8 or 10 episodes of what we're filming right now. More episodes are coming out as the editors edit them. So yeah, and you can find my book on Amazon. Amazon is the most incredible tool for uh, people that write books on the planet. I didn't have to go and print 1,000 books and spend all that money. Literally, you order a book, they print the book, they send it to you. It's like, it's crazy that that's the world we live in right now, and they can print it, package it, and send it, and you'll have it in a day or two. It's just incredible. So um, Amazon is another place where you can find me. But at this point, I respond to every DM that I get. There's not a DM that I don't at least acknowledge or respond to, and I am literally here to help, you know, people be better and people do better. Um, because I haven't always been that guy. That hasn't always been my focus, and my focus now is how can I just help people understand the divinity within them and help them remember their purpose here on this earth.
Amazing, man. And the links to all your social medias and the Amazon link to your book will be in the show notes and in the description. And I really do recommend that everyone pick up this book, The Honest Lie, because it will undoubtedly change your life. And thank you once again. I can't stop saying it, Shane, for writing this book. It truly is amazing. And it's gonna be one that I might have to buy several copies because I'm sure this one's gonna get run through in a couple years, completely marked up. I'm gonna have to keep ordering new ones and the newest editions and hardcovers, and I need to get a gold edition sometime in the future and get it on the
Okay,
wall and get plaques, and because it's really good. I really
love it.
really love this book, and thank you again for writing it.
You bet. Well, thanks, Sean. I appreciate you having me on. And if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Okay.
Likewise.